So let me just give a few words here. So what you're about to watch is a presentation that was pre-recorded by an outstanding IQP student team. For those of you who are not familiar with IQPs, it's one of the big projects, so to speak, that WPI students need to complete in order to graduate. It's interdisciplinary in nature. In this case, they elected to come with me to the UAE and work at the American University of Sharjah on projects that were related to the Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority. What you're about to see is the them explain in their own words their experience, but also their project work, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, we are a group of students at WPI that completed our interactive qualifying project, IQP, in the fall of 2019. Our project regards water conservation campaigns in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates. The project was sponsored by the Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority, SEWA, a government utility that provides electricity, water, and natural gas to the residents of Sharjah. We also worked with 2 students at the American University of Sharjah. Now to introduce the team. I'm Pooja Patel, a computer science major in the class of 2021.
I am Omar Al-Ghani, a chemical engineer in class of 2021.
I'm Kyla Eggenberger, biomedical engineering major in the class of 2021.
Rafael Pimentel, I'm a computer science major, class of 2021.
To give structure to our presentation, we'll be discussing the project conducted in the UAE and our experience being there. We'll first discuss the situation, then give relevant background and introduce our methods. From there, we'll discuss our findings, our experience being in the UAE, and present our final thoughts. To set the stage, the issue of water conservation has been growing in importance in recent decades. As a result, our project sponsor, SEWA, has run numerous education campaigns to promote awareness on conservation. Our team was tasked to understand these types of campaigns, design our own, and then test these campaigns with the Sharjah public. Moving on, now I'll discuss relevant background for our project. The UAE has an arid climate which induces water stress, and water stress occurs when the combination of increasing water consumption is met with limited water resources. In the UAE, some factors contributing to this stress state are an increasing population, the rising temperatures, and limited rainfall.
Now that we covered the relevant background information, we can discuss our methods. We divided our methods into 3 key phases. We have the exploration phase, the design phase, and the feedback phase. First, we're going to discuss the first phase, which is the exploration phase. This phase focused on the educational campaigns that were already implemented in Sharjah through an observational study and interviews with both AUS and SEWA. This started out just by looking at different flyers on bulletin boards on the AUS campus, where we stumbled across a sign office. We then reached out to the office and we were able to set up an interview. We also were able to interview officials, and by the end of this, we had collected data on over 70 campaigns. Once we had pictures of each campaign, like the one on the right, we were able to categorize each one based on the 2 marketing frameworks you see on the screen. So we used a software called NVivo, where we were able to annotate the campaigns by the type of audience, product, action, investment, etc. And by the end, we had a web of different campaigns connected by the similar characteristics so that we could analyze this after.
Now we have phase 2, design. The goal of this phase was to generate creative ideas for water conservation campaigns to create lives. For this, we created a sprint workshop that consisted of 6 stages: understand, define, diverge, decide, prototype, and validate. The first step was recruitment and planning. First, we recruited locals to Sharjah to register for the design sprint. We reached out to our AUS partners to know what department to go to for this. Then we marketed the workshop through flyers on campus, as the one that you can see on the right. And then on the left picture, you can see our pilot test that we conducted with our WPI partners. The first stage of our workshop was understand. In this part, we would explain to all the attendance that the problem that we were trying to solve. For stage 2, which was defined, the groups, we would split into groups and they would try to narrow down the problem or what was causing it. For stage 3, that was diverge, everybody individually would start brainstorming ideas for 5 to 10 minutes on how to solve this problem. For stage 4, decide, the group would come back together and start deciding on which idea to work on. For stage 5, which was prototype, should take that idea that they chose and create a tangible version of that idea. Then for stage 6, validate, they would present that idea to all the other groups, and then all the groups would vote on which one was the best idea.
The third phase is the feedback phase. The goal of this phase is to present 3 different types of campaigns and feedback regarding the content. This was done by interviewing CEWA representatives and surveying Sharjah residents. The survey included students from the US campus and the Sharjah resident from an event in a local park. There were some language barriers between some of the team members and some of the Sharjah community, which created some awkwardness when trying to speak with them. I tried as a member coming from the Middle East to facilitate and bridge some of these language barriers and to fill in any cultural gaps that they might have. Even when we needed to approval to do the survey and convince the organizer to get us an approval to do the survey, and thankfully they agreed. The first campaign that was presented was an informative online post, which had tips and information regarding conserving water. The second campaign was an application that tracked water consumption in the resident household. The third campaign was the idea of an event with different activities that targeted all the age groups aiming to conserve water. We had a number of findings for each phase. One of the findings we found in the exploration phase was the different target audiences need different delivery methods. For the second phase, the design phase, we also had different findings. For example, the design sprint workshop produced around 9 campaign prototypes, and from these prototypes, different themes regarding content, delivery, incentives, and messaging emerged. Lastly, the feedback phase showed that social media and app campaigns were the most favorable by the participants.
Now we're going to speak about our experiences in the UAE. At the close of our time in the UAE, we had the opportunity to present our work. One of the presentations was at the American University of Sharjah, where we were able to present our project work to WPI representatives, AUS faculty, and CEWA representatives. The second presentation opportunity was at the Ritz-Carlton for a WPI reception in Dubai, where we were able to present our poster to WPI alumni, CEWA representatives, as well as other guests.
From the first day that we came to the US, the International Exchange Office were the first people to welcome us. Moreover, they got us engaged and experienced the culture by facilitating trips around the UAE. We went to Abu Dhabi and visited the Louvre Museum and the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque on our first week. They also organized a trip to the Global Village in Dubai, and they got us involved in a documentary TV program that made us go to a local sport club that had a shooting range and try it, and then later made us try some of the local traditional food.
Another one of the opportunities that we experienced was a traditional Arabic dinner in a desert safari. We did things such as sand skiing, dune bashing, and camel riding. In Dubai, some things we did was visited the Burj Khalifa and the various malls around the city. We did some ecotourism, and we also traveled the beaches and about all the beaches around Dubai.
Growing closer as a group was incredibly important to help us avoid homesickness, especially when Some of us never even left the country before. In the picture on the right, both project teams and our advisor enjoyed a game of Uno on a Thanksgiving holiday away from home. And on another day, we were able to visit Kite Beach on a whim, and we even got to stay in a 5-star hotel. Overall, our experience in the UAE was filled with adventures, new friendships, and learning opportunities. There was never a boring moment, but still we did experience some difficulties, especially being the first group to come to the UAE from WPI, especially since there was no older students to help us out and give us any advice. We were learning everything day by day. Also, we arrived in a heat wave after being in the New England fall weather, so that took some time to adjust as well. And being in a new cultural climate came with shock at first, especially with new dorm rules like curfew, which we never experienced at WPI, or with not being able to understand another language. But through it all, we were able to adjust within the first week and then fully immerse in the culture and have an awesome experience.
For me, the project work we did in the UAE was an incredible learning opportunity, and I look back at our experiences there so positively.
For me, this project remains as one of the most amazing experiences I have ever had. I think I would love to go back again someday for work or just for fun.
My first time leaving the US was one I will never forget. I met so many awesome people that I still talk to today, and I love looking back on the old pictures.
This was a good experience for me, especially working with people from different backgrounds on one huge project. Thank you for listening.